Observers say the use of antidepressants has skyrocketed despite some life-threatening adverse effects. Joining us from our studios in New York for more on the subject is David Foreman, a pharmacist and author. Mr. Foreman, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have you. Listen, before we even talk about the effect of antidepressant, talk to us about why people are using so much antidepressant. Is this entirely to address depression?
Actually, a lot of people are now requesting antidepressants, and they're primarily using them for symptoms of anxiety or just being high stress. So I feel like the rise is more consumer-driven than doctor-driven.
So how do they know what to ask for? If you are using an antidepressant and it's not what you need, why would the doctor go with that?
Well, I think in modern medicine, a lot of times the approach is that the antidepressant isn't really going to hurt them. So oftentimes things get prescribed just because the patient's asking, and if the doctor thing for them, they'll go ahead and do it. I think that's counter to what really needs to be done, but that is what happens.
But we know, according to reports, that, of course, antidepressant can cause health problems. Talk to us more about that.
Well, it's interesting because antidepressants, they're supposed to help depression, yet they often get prescribed for so many other things. And yet, with some people that do suffer from severe depression, may have suicidal thoughts, actually commit suicide, and they've now black box warning a class of antidepressants showing that it actually will increase the risk of wanting to commit suicide for those people that already kind of had that problem.
So what are some of the ways to address this excessive use of antidepressant? What are some alternatives?
Well, I feel like, the basic thing is that if you really are feeling stressed out, that an antidepressant really isn't the answer. I mean, obviously, seek healthcare providers' advice, but there are some natural things that I've been using or recommending for years that help take the edge off or help your body adapt or deal with the stress. So I've got a few examples with me here today.
Such as?
So we're going to start in South Africa. A great place to start. An indigenous tribe's been using a South African succulent. We can find it globally now under the name of Zembrin. Zembrin actually helps the body calm down. Scientific research shows it actually affects the stress center of your brain to help calm you down and relax you, but without making you drowsy, which is what a lot of things that are non-natural will do. And at the same time, it'll help improve your ability to concentrate and focus. So I always say you chillax, basically, and it will help you stay more focused and concentrate. And like I said, just one small dose in the morning keeps you going all day long. So
some of these alternative drugs or perhaps a supplement FDA approved, or how do we make sure that it's good for everyone who uses it?
Well, primarily when people hear me talk, I always make sure that things have been scientifically researched and backed, not just for efficacy and how they work, but how much to take and even safety profiles. When people have questions, I always refer them to my website because I'm glad to help people at least get guided in the right path towards, improving their health and wellness. So
what are other ways that people can help with depressions if they feel like they're really being faced with depression, besides taking supplements, for example?
So for depression, everybody kind of handles it differently, but a couple of my favorites are to avoid things like caffeine, avoid alcohol, and make sure you're getting plenty of exercise. We know that exercise it just helps the overall well-being of the body in so many different ways. Making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, and then again, if you really are feeling like you're very depressed, you really do need to seek the care of a qualified healthcare professional, because there are those incidences where the depression medications are required. But for those people that are just kind of feeling a little stressed out or a little bit anxious, a lot of times going natural will be the way to go.
So before we wrap, what are some best ways to, I know you give us some ideas in terms of preventing depression with exercise and everything, but moving forward, people that are concerned with depression, what is your best advice to them?
Well, first, if you are concerned with depression, that's strike one. You really probably should seek, go to talk to your primary health care provider about it. Maybe get into some counseling. I'm a big fan of prayer and meditation, focusing on the positive things in life as opposed to dwelling and worrying about those negative things. Those are some good steps to at least get the ball rolling. But if you're really feeling bad, you really need to, get checked out by your health care provider first.
Okay, David Foreman, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And that was David Foreman. He is a pharmacist and author. And that's our health report for today, so stay in touch for more. Find me on Twitter @Linord Moudou.